I'm not exaggerating when I say the series finale of Stranger Things Season 5 was incredibly corny, predictable, and I kind of loved it anyway, so here's my full thoughts on the best and worst parts of the episode, full spoilers ahead. This episode thankfully jumps right into the action from the very first second, and you know the Duffer Brothers thought they were hilarious when they gave us this Steve fake-out death like 10 minutes into the episode. The entire gang's up on top of this tower trying to get into the abyss, everything starts falling apart, and Steve literally just falls from this tower. Like, they literally cut to black in the scene and everything, and then it comes back, nope, Jonathan reached his hand down. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think Jonathan could have got there in time to save him, but obviously they weren't gonna kill Steve off there, but I'm not gonna lie, it was a good fake out. And we'll get to the rest of the fake out deaths in a minute, because that is a serious problem with this episode. But moving on with the episode, I did really like the stuff with Max being brought into Eleven's memories to then kind of go into Henry and Vecna's mind. I honestly kind of thought we were going to spend a little bit more time with them, like in Henry's school and throughout other moments in his childhood, but no, we kind of speed through this portion a little bit. And everything with Henry and Vecna in this episode is absolutely peak. Shortly after we see Eleven kind of confront Henry for the first time, he goes inside her mind and finds out about the plan that her and Callie had to kind of hide all the kids. Like, this dude is just so intimidating in every single scene he's in. And like, after Henry learns about Eleven's plan, he then goes into the real world, shows up to Hopper. He starts showing him flashbacks of his daughter dying and her saying different stuff. Then he actually shows her Eleven and Collie's real life plan and exposes like, hey, yeah, your daughter, she's planning on just ending her life. Then it gets really diabolical because Hopper then shoots what he thinks is Vecna standing there, but it's actually just a part of the vision, and he ends up shooting the water tank that Eleven is in, and it ends up being a fake out that Eleven's actually fine and he didn't really shoot her, he just pulled her out of the tank, getting her out of Henry's mind. But I honestly really wish they didn't go back on this. Like, even if he didn't kill Eleven in this scene, it would have been a really interesting element if he actually like severely damaged her here, because it was honestly heartbreaking. I was shocked watching this happen, but still a really cool moment on its own, isolated. In the meantime, we do get to see that the rest of the gang made it into the abyss. Jonathan and Steve have a really nice exchange, kind of talking about Nancy and how they're both like, yeah, we're not the right ones cut out for her. She's gonna go do her own thing. I thought this was a really nice moment. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little disrespectful for them to have an entire scene dedicated to my boy Derek running out of breath when they're all trying to get away from Henry and into the cave. I was like, my goat Derek would never. He would power through. Right around here and later in the episode, we kind of jump around and keep learning more about what happened to Henry in this cave, seeing him actually open up this briefcase, see this thing, and the second he sees it, it's like, oh my god, he's cooked. He gets the visions of the mind flayer saying, come and find me. He's fully flayed at this point. He has his powers here. The guy in the tunnel's like, yeah, it's gonna consume you. It wants to consume everything, but Henry's fully gone at this point. This was a really cool scene. Again, everything with Henry, absolute 10 out of 10. The entire scene of Hopper, Callie, and Eleven kind of trying to make it through this building, and the military all storms them, takes away the powers from Callie and Eleven, I thought was really good. I laughed out loud when Hopper picked up Eleven and just left Callie there to die. But of course, he's a good guy. He comes back, tries to shoot the guard. They both get captured. Of course, we see Eleven regain her powers. It seems like, oh, she saved the day, but no, Callie actually got caught in the crossfire. She's bleeding out. She's going to die, which I thought was really good that they didn't make her actually a villain. She just truly believed there was only one way out for her and Eleven. And I thought this was kind of a tragic character that I honestly didn't like that much. I was okay with her dying here. Then, of course, later in the episode, we get the reveal that she didn't really die right in this moment. She lived a little bit longer, stayed far away, and helps Eleven later. Again, we will get to that in a moment, but I'm not sure how I feel about all that still. I do appreciate that we gave Murray something to do in this moment besides just make MCU quips the entire time. He actually just launches the C4 at the chopper. Pretty badass moment to save the day. But let's move a little bit closer to this big battle, because obviously right before this we find out about the entire briefcase thing and the fact that it's, yes, the mind flayer controlling him this entire time. And I was like, oh no, they're gonna do something I said I desperately don't want them to do, which is have Henry turn good, fight against the mind flayer with the rest of the gang. It literally seemed like they were doing that. Will literally says, oh, you see this in the cave now, you know you're a good guy, you can help us. Like, I was really sure they were gonna go for that, but no. Then Henry's like, I was not being controlled by the mind flayer. He showed me the truth. I need him just as much as he needs me. And I thought that was a really cool moment for them to not just do the thing where he turns into a good guy at the end. I also do love everything with the actual physical form of the mind flayer here. I thought its entire reveal, kind of it coming back to life, revealing leg by leg, was very cool. I like the entire design of this monster. It's just very core Stranger Things. Gave me a lot of those earlier season vibes of them just being pure monsters in this moment. Of course, you do have Eleven showing up here, and she's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna launch myself straight into this thing. And everybody in this final battle gets their cool moment. They're like, okay, Eleven's gonna fight against Vecna. We're all gonna distract and try to hurt the actual mind flayer body because it's the hive mind. You hurt one, he hurt the other. We see Nancy walk him down, Wheeler literally being the bait herself. You get Lucas using his slingshot still from season 1. And then they all get inside and they're like, oh, Henry's still a little bit alive. He's kind of just lying there bleeding out. Who gets the final blow, or should I say blows? Joyce Byers walks up with the axe and is like, you mess with the wrong family. Literally just chops this dude's head clean off after like 15 swings. And like so many things in this episode, this is a very corny moment, but I'm not gonna lie, it was very nice to see still. Like, Joyce has had nothing to do this entire season. She has been tormented just as much as other people in this entire show, and she finally gets her lick back on Vecna himself. I honestly did think it was a pretty cool moment that they gave this to her. Now we get like a fake out Inception after this big final moment with Vecna. They all kind of walk out of the abyss. They're like, okay, we're gonna explode the Upside Down. We're driving out of here, but no, then the government pulls up on all of them. They're looking for 11 again, and then she's standing in the gate to the Upside Down that's rigged to explode, and she's like, nope, I'm gonna sacrifice myself right here and now. She then basically opens up the path like she's in Attack on Titan to speak to Mike within her mind and give this very heartfelt goodbye. Mike is emotionally just devastated in this moment, and I was like, oh my god, they're actually doing it. And of course it is the cop out. Obviously, like I said, I'm not trying to jump around too much, but it is revealed that she most likely really used a trick from Callie, who's still alive, to create an illusion that she sacrificed herself, but actually Callie made her invisible, and she just kind of walks away and just goes randomly off to the other side of the world, which isn't bad, honestly. Like, I didn't want 11 of all the characters in this show to be the one person that was going to die if they killed off a main character. Like, yes, she has suffered her entire life. It would not have been a good message or a good ending for this character, so having her still make the sacrifice while getting to live isn't bad. But again, I feel like you just didn't need to do the whole fake out death thing here. I literally put that in my video of things I don't want to happen in the finale. So again, very predictable. And I honestly think it's how it works out in the rest of the episode that makes this work a little bit better for me. Again, even though it is cheesy and predictable, getting to see everybody's reaction in this immediate moment was actually very heartfelt and devastating, and getting to see all the reactions 18 months later, I do think those are all powerful scenes. And yeah, let's just get to it, because after this, then we cut to 18 months later, again, just like the gap in between seasons 4 and 5 with another Robin radio broadcast here. We get to see where everybody is now that there's no military, no Vecna, no Mind Flayer, no Upside Down. We get Steve Harrington as a baseball coach coaching all these kids up. Really sweet scene. We also learn later that he's teaching sex ed, which is pretty funny. We get to see the GOAT Derek again on his baseball team. Robin absolutely roasts him, saying, if I had a question about an STD, you'd be the first person I come to. I can't lie, I laughed at this line. Jonathan has moved away for school. He's working on his first movie. We know that Nancy dropped out of college actually, and she took a job at the Herald. I think we get the teaser of what the spin-off's gonna be, and they were straight up lying to us, saying that there's gonna be no returning characters, because Hopper, when he's talking to Joyce, being like, oh, we can move to a different town, and then he ends up proposing in the scene. Again, a very sweet moment. He mentions, hey, Montauk's looking for a new chief of police, which if you don't know, Montauk is what the original name for Stranger Things was gonna be. It was gonna be a very different show taking place in this town, Montauk. So it seems like we're actually gonna be getting that with a new mystery with Chief Hopper. And like I said, so much of this is incredibly cheesy, but I've been watching this show since 2016, so I really don't care. A lot of the moments really were just sweet and worked for me, like getting to see Dustin be the valedictorian, tell the principal like F off pretty much, and Stacy finally walks up to him like, yo, you want to come to my party later? That was cool. I'm not going to cover everything that happens, but I also like the moment between Hopper and Mike when he's talking to him about 11. Of course, you know the episode, it ends with them playing Dungeons and Dragons, just like the very first episode starts, and then at the very end, Mike kind of gives a breakdown that tells us where all these characters end up. Like, we know Dustin's off at school, but he still makes time to hang out with Steve. Lucas and Max are just like madly in love in this small town somewhere. And two things this finale definitely solidified for me about Lucas's character. First of all, he is a straight up certified dog, and second of all, he's never told a lie in his entire life. We then see Mike writing up all these stories about all their adventures they went on and the Upside Down and all this type of stuff, and then he's like, oh, there's one story we can't tell anybody, and that's the one about 11. And then he goes into this whole thing about how the sisters devised a plan that she wasn't really going to sacrifice herself. Callie cast the illusion. In this moment, 11's literally invisible when everybody thinks she's sacrificing herself in the gate, and she sneaks out this back door. She's just off. Pretty much everybody thinks she's dead for a straight up 18 months. I don't know if she told Mike in that scene that this was her plan, or Mike's just kind of figuring this out, because even though this is the definitive ending that the Duffer Brothers have in mind for 11 and how the story is ending, I do like that they leave it open-ended enough where Mike's like, well, yeah, I'm not really sure. This is kind of just what I think happened, where she's living happily ever after. Everybody in the group's like, yeah, we're gonna believe this is what happened. This is what happened to 11. They all put everything away for the very last time, and then right as Mike's walking up the stairs to leave the basement, we end up seeing Holly and her new friends like Derek and others come down to play D&D. So the cycle is just gonna keep going on to the next generation. Of course, it ends at the very end of the credits with with this shot of Stranger Things player manual for this fantasy role-playing game here. I don't think this means it was a D&D game all along. It's just a fun little Easter egg at the end of the credits. Everybody calm down. Okay, don't cancel me. I swear I just forgot to mention this. We also find out that Will ends up going to this other town. He is loved and accepted. It ends up seeing like he finds a new boyfriend here, or at least someone he's going to date for a little bit of time. I swear I just honestly forgot this. This entire final season and this finale in particular have been very plot armor heavy. They spam fake deaths left and right this entire show, honestly, with any main character. Nobody really died by the end of it. Like even Eleven with her big fake out, she lives to see the end of the day, but I'm honestly not mad at the happy ending. I think they executed it in the best way possible that makes the cheesiness kind of work. I do kind of feel like the final battle was a little anticlimactic, maybe just because it happens like 50 minutes into this 2-hour long episode, but like seeing everybody fight the mind flayer again, I thought that was cool. Joyce getting the final blow on Vecna, I like that too. I just think it should have been maybe a little bit longer. It kind of just felt like, oh wait, we've been through 5 seasons of them fighting the Upside Down, all these different creatures. It just felt like a little bit of a lackluster ending to this entire storyline, I'm not gonna lie. None of these complaints really hampered my enjoyment of the episode. Like I said, I've been loving this show for the last 10 years. Season 5 was a very bumpy ride, and even moments in this finale, but overall I think I'm very happy with how it did end. They give us a new Montauk series that takes place like 5 years later with Chief Jim Hopper and a bunch of new characters, and you'd probably see like Will or someone come and visit every once in a while. I'm gonna eat it up like absolute slop that it is and love every second of it. Honestly, just kind of happy that this finale raised this season a little bit for me, because I still am very mixed on the first 7 episodes of the season. There's some really good in there, but also some really mediocre and some of the worst stuff Stranger Things has to offer. So for the most part, I was very happy with how everything came together in this finale, and it kind of made a lot of those moments a little bit better. Let me know what you think. Do you think they ended up playing it too safe? Are you happy with how everything ended? I want to know all your thoughts in the comments down below. If you want to see all my other Stranger Things videos on the channel, make sure to click the playlist above my head right now and subscribe. I'm going to be dropping a whole lot of Stranger Things seasons and character rankings in the next couple days.